Okay, Marfin, this is Marfoogle TV. Today, we're going to go over a ton of stuff in a short amount of time. So remember, you can go over to marfooglenews.com and get a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. The U.S. is readying to evacuate Americans from Lebanon if the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah intensifies. Now, I don't think that they've amassed massive amounts of vehicles, military equipment, launchers, and all of that. I don't think that they just did all of that and then they're going to go, psych, let's go have lunch. But again, I guess we'll see. The Pentagon is moving U.S. military assets closer to Israel and Lebanon to be ready to evacuate Americans as fighting between IS and Hezbollah intensifies, according to 3 U.S. defense officials and a former U.S. official familiar with the plans. The USS Wasp, an amphibious assault ship, and Marines from the 24th Expeditionary Unit, which is special operations capable, moved into the Mediterranean on Wednesday to join a dock landing ship, USS Oak Hill, and another ship in the amphibious ready group. According to the Marine Corps, the Wasp will operate in the eastern Mediterranean to be ready for a military-assisted departure, or MAD. In other missions, the official said the Wasp and the Marine Expeditionary Unit are also intended to project military power and be a deterrent to regional escalation. These amphibious assault ships are pretty badass vehicles, but it's not a good sign to see them loading up on your shores. That's for sure. We're going to talk about this and many other stories, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, let's get right into it. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So they're ready to evacuate people out of this. Dex, as far as them pulling up and getting ready for this, I don't think that they're doing it because it's not going to happen. I think that they're pulling amphibious assault ships in because they're going to be pulling people out. What do you think on it?
Well, certainly the assault ships would be one obvious thing. I think that also helps back up the fact that the carriers are not there now. One carrier's headed home, the other's coming in from the Pacific, and it's got to make its way up through the Red Sea, and it's got to get pretty far up to the Red Sea if it's going to be actually helpful in that area. But certainly the fact that we've heard mentions of Canada saying they were preparing to pull people out or ordering people out. We've heard the opposite side, the Iranian side, say, "Hey, get everybody out of Syria. They shouldn't be there. Get out because we're coming in, and it's going to get nasty." So everybody is starting to posture, not just beat their chest, but actually do the things that you would normally do right before a battle kicks off.
I think that this is about to escalate, and it's been one step higher. Right when October 7th hit, everybody kind of knew that all of this was going to go down. It was all speculated within the week that other parties were going to get involved. Then it was a month and a half of them saying, are other parties going to get involved? Then other parties got involved. Some would say they've been involved, but now they've amassed a massive force right there. So is this going to go backwards? I don't think so. all of the speculation we see, the majority of it actually does go through. I guess all of us have such a hard problem just really believing anything that the MSM is telling us, but at this point, I think that this is part of a bigger plan, and it's exactly what it looks like. But U.S. intel indicates war between Israel and Hezbollah is inching closer. Again, if somebody sees a headline like this and they see that the U.S. has said this, people don't believe it. People go, oh, yeah, sure. It's kind of like the weatherman saying a huge storm's going to come in. When they say that a crazy, crazy hurricane's coming in, they'll super hype it up, and then it will end up being nothing. Or they won't hype it up at all, and it ends up being this category 5 that wipes everything out. It just seems like it's so hit or miss, but it has been for the last 3 or 4 years that they really do put everything out there and they slow drip it so they can say, oh, well, we did tell you. We did declare this was going to happen. And they're saying that it's inching closer, and they told U.S. citizens to leave. We've known this for days. Now, U.S. citizens have been got the memo and said, you guys need to get out of there. What does this mean for us, though? I guess that's what many people are asking, especially if you're watching the United States and you don't know geopolitics in other countries. What the heck does this make a difference to us? Well, of course, Israel going to war with anybody is going to be a really big thing for us here in the United States because we are backing them up. It is our amphibious assault group that is going over there and going to land on their beaches. It is our carriers that are going to be shooting missiles out of the sky. That's why this is a really big deal, and it's quite scary to see the Holy Lands right now getting this hot. It's biblical. This is something that people have said that was coming for years and years because, frankly, a lot of people saw this coming because there's a lot of prophecy saying that this would happen. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then, Dex, do you want to go over to the Iran-backed Iraqi militia threatens to strike U.S. interests should Israel attack Lebanon?
So another player, so to speak, this one obviously, as the title says, backed by Iran. These are the groups, the militia groups that are in Iraq, and that's where we actually still have troops. We still have bases there. We have a lot of people there. This is the location that we've saw previous attempts to strike them, and we've seen that happen. If you remember a few months back or many months back that there was a handful of attempts that they just kept hitting over and over again, and everybody was like, why aren't we ever going to respond? That group, that's the group that is saying, hey, if this picks up in Lebanon, then they're going to come and strike U.S. locations. And when they say that, or interests, I should say, they're really speaking about our soldiers that are in that region, or in any of those areas in that region, whether it be in Jordan or in Iraq and anywhere they can reach. So that's, yet another escalation point here. And that will have a direct effect on U.S. soldiers.
Now, another thing to point out is everything that's going on in the Middle East, the whole world is watching this. This isn't the only thing going on right now. We have North and South Korea. Every single day something is, popping up or, right on the fire pit. All of these other conflicts, we've got people coming in through the South. We just had a huge, huge ordeal today, which if you did not watch the debate, a lot of these topics were just hit by the two presidents, the former and the current. It did. By the way, let's go over to the chat real quick before we move on. Let's do a roll call and then just put a general state or province where you're from, and then did you watch or did you not watch that presidential debate? Let's say hello to some great people here. We've got Gabby B, Stephanie Munoz, and by the way, let's have some fun today. It's really, really bad out there, and it's nasty. It's World War III. In my opinion, this is World War III. We're already in it. What are we going to do about it, right? We need to be happy and we need to be positive. Susie Q, scratch what is happening, and we need to be ready. Becky Pano, SBPM, thank you for being here. William Faulkner, hey, nice to see you. We've got Drewston, John Moore, WISGen, WizGen, thank you so much for being here. B. Blake, we've got holding down the fort. We have Daniel Sen, John Wright, running with scissors from Pittsburgh. What is happening? Jersey Shore in the house. Hey, nice to see you guys. Ohio, got the OHIO. We were just talking about Ohio. I can't remember why. Up North Girl, cool. We've got Briar Nordyke. We've got Aura from East Ohio. We've got South Dakota in the house. Sioux Falls, nice to see you. Got family over there. Bible Talk 777, thank you. Tiges NZ from Christchurch. We've got B&B home from South Carolina. We just had all of our good friends, a huge family, good friends of our family, all of them separate. They did live in 3 different houses. They all moved to North Carolina, all because of the price of Washington. It for a family of 4, remind you, I'm a family of 6. They now say this big chart that shows the United States, we're like number 5. Top being you need to be making $300,000 in Maine, $295,000 in Hawaii, $298 or $78,000 in California. I think it was $257,000 a year for 4 people to live comfortably, basically just to have your stuff covered and not worry about like if your tire goes flat. That's insane. Okay, so I get why people are moving to North Carolina. The sad part is you move to North Carolina, somewhere like that, beautiful place, it's probably going to be the same in a couple of years, especially if it goes on this just crazy upward shot that we're on. PA and Lost Badge, Massachusetts. We've got so many different people here. So if you didn't watch this debate, me and Dex were sitting there just flabbergasted, both watching it from 2 different places in the country. And first of all, I thought it was like a setup. Dex, you thought it was a setup. I didn't even think, I thought, man, this is so bad. Why? I thought they kept him in like doors for 2 weeks or something so they could get it so he was on the money. But apparently they're saying he was sick, which you did hear his voice going bad. But here's the craziest part. CNN is the one who threw it together. At first, they said that there would be a 2-minute delay instead of a 10-second delay. So we're like, okay, that's weird. And obviously, everybody's, shady about that. Why do they need a 2-minute delay? So if something happens or something's said that they can scrub it? Well, exactly. Then they also, for the first time, I don't think this has happened before, they did a CNN special on how the mics work. And this was a couple days ago, went viral. They show 2 green lights on each podium, and it even makes sure that if somebody's talking while the other person is talking, that they can basically make it sound like soft whispers and mutters. They can even garble it. So you won't be able to hear the message while the other person's talking. So we're hearing this and we're like, oh, so they're just going to mute the person that basically is persecuted mostly. And we're thinking, no. Then they tell us there's not going to be any press corps inside the damn thing. So only CNN. Now, Fox News and all of these other news agencies came together. They wrote a petition saying, hey, if there's something going on, we want to be in there, And Dex, was that confirmed, by the way, the whole thing?
The press corps that follows him around was mad that they were not allowed to be in there, and they asked and they petitioned to go in there, but they still said no. Nobody was allowed in. Only 2 people from each side were there, and even the rest of their staffers had to watch from a building across the street.
So everybody's thinking, man, this is not going to go in, our former president's direction. I mean, most people, even if they hate him and support the current prez, they would go, oh yeah, they're going to do a number on him. But it turned out opposite. It was so bad. JB was like staring off into space half the time, and when he was talking, and this isn't like opinion. This is the opinion that's coming out of CNN right now. Dex, right after this, what did you see from all of the normally JB supporting side saying? What were they saying right after this?
They're panicking. They say they're panicking to now figure out how to potentially replace him. And those are headlines that were coming out across all of these different networks and talking head points on those networks, not just, the opposing side. We're talking about the side that would normally support him. And I think a lot of them going into it were expecting this to be a strong, this was supposed to be a proving point. And my opinion was they would probably expect him to see him do something great, and if he didn't, they were going to be mad. And it sounds like they're really mad. Not when I say they, I mean the supporters of that party.
But and at one point, it got into a battle about their golf score, and this was like, you would think the tone of them talking to each other was so serious. Dex, we didn't talk about this before the show because. Do you see the argument about the golf scores and saying that our former president is saying, oh, I could hit a ball, I could drive a ball 200 yards, and Biden is saying, oh, well, have you ever tried carrying your own bag? I carry my own bag, and oh, I could drive, and I guess he's challenged him in golf, and they're both challenged. It was so. It ends up, the last thing that was said was T-Man says, okay, well, let's not act like children, and then JB says, you are a child. He just like gets that in under the thing, goes, you are a child. There were so many of these low digs. He went after JB and his son. He went after all of his charges, called him a felon, did this. It was a mess. We are a freaking circus. So as funny as some of the parts were, it's not funny. Right now, they're basically lining up to saying that they are going to replace him, right? And yes, somebody mentioned Newsom, right? Newsom is the only person, including there's been high-ranking officials. There have been CEOs from some of the most powerful companies that have gone to China. They have not talked to Xi. But yet Newsom goes for an electric car thing and this thing and that thing and goes and directly spends time with Xi. What do you think they're lining up? It doesn't take a crystal ball to see this. This is what I'm talking about. In a few months when this happens, I can't believe people predicted this. What do you mean? It's super freaking obvious. There's a reason why he was the one. That's my opinion. This is just my own opinion. And again, I know it's yours, Dex. You've called it for a year now that they're going to somehow figure it out. Now that causes an issue because if that is a thing, then essentially because they're already set in place, that some states would have a problem with that. They would say, well, if you're changing last minute, then you may have to write it in. And I already foresee some sort of drama. And Dex, you said you foresee maybe they even have legal battles about that here in a minute, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, the way the rules are, it's based on each state. So there's basically 50 different rules out there. Some have already passed the deadline to put names on the ticket, so to speak. Some states have rules that say, hey, if you change out, well, it's okay. You can still select the old name and we'll just count it for the new name. Other states say, no, you have to do a write-in. And other states will just say, no, you can't do it at all. And that'll cause a totally different issue. But what I suspect could potentially happen then is that this would turn into court battles and will cause, how would those be resolved quick enough to get to a point where we could actually proceed with the process?
And here's the thing, because people and we should be at a point, and especially in this chat, where people can say, I like this person, I like that person, and no matter what that person is, people should be able to get along like they did 10, 15 years ago. If you're from an older generation, then you probably still can do that. Maybe if you've fallen into the habit of not doing that, then you're not, then you've been influenced in the last few years, because you used to be able to say, even if somebody has chosen to support somebody that you think is absolutely horrible, and both sides are saying that about the other side, you would still be able to talk to that person, still be friends with that person, still go, play basketball with that person, go hang out, have dinners. That was okay. That's where we should be at this chat. And if you're not like that, then again, I think you should get to that point and you should try. With this, I'm more concerned in what we cover is what are the results going to be? What are we looking at in the future? What is going to happen in the next 5 months from here to that point? And we're already heading into World War III as far as I'm concerned. And they're doing this circus of a show between the both of them, which I think both of them were not perfect in a lot of ways. People were saying that they were surprised how well JB did. My point is that the media that's usually supporting him is now talking about replacing him. That's even more turmoil coming our way. If you don't realize why that's trouble, if they're talking about replacing him this last minute, then we're in trouble. Okay, there's something else heading our way. That's why we need to prepare for anything and everything. Because the more that they get people in one direction and then pull back last minute, that's more likely for people to snap or people to get mad or people to just go totally nutso. So again, keep that in mind with this whole thing. I mean, yes, there were some pretty absurd moments. I was surprised. Two things. JB, he lasted the whole time. I thought he didn't do as bad as thought. And his media, the media that has supported him the entire time, they were the ones finding all these things. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know he messed up on that. And T-Man, I think he didn't interrupt a lot. He didn't go nuts. He didn't react emotionally to some of the claims. I was surprised he didn't go into it. Besides the golf thing and some other thing, once that you start going after T-Man's ego, you guys all know he's gonna be like, well, because JB went directly after him and says, you're not the best, or you're not the best, or something like that. They both said that they were both surveyed as the worst president in the country's history. So I did do an X poll, and I'll be showing you that here in just a minute. In fact, after EMP Shield. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is our genuine recommendation for if you don't have this. This is a device that can actually protect your car, your truck, your motorcycle, any kind of vehicle most likely has an EMP shield made just for it. This will ground the signal from any EMP strike or a Carrington level event from the sun in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your car. That means you're going to get out to bug out, or to get home to your family. So if you work far from home, and again, that might be 5 miles. I mean, in a SHTF, it could be 3 miles, and that could turn into a much farther trip than you think it's going to be because of what's going on. Then you definitely want to get one of these on your car. It takes 10 minutes to put on, and then you're done. It's something you're not going to need until you need it, and then when you do, you are going to absolutely thank yourself. Almost all of the new digital cars will be absolute garbage. They will just basically be a heap of metal unless you get them protected. If you have an old classic car, you might be better off, but I don't know how many of you actually have classic cars anymore. All right, and then let's go over to the poll, and then Dex, if I'm going to load this up, do you want to talk about Russian satellite breaks up in space, forces ISS astronauts to shelter? This is like the plot out of Gravity.
Yeah. Talk about crazy. So much is going on with ISS right now, with the space station, and with the stranded astronauts, that now all of a sudden they had to shelter. They had to seek shelter. I don't know. I guess I would assume that means they're probably going to get into one of the safest positions and the safest pods or sections of the space station, and maybe even don their space suits should something happen, so they could then start locking off components and locks between the sections if they had to do some repair. But they did this because an old defunct, as they call it, satellite that was owned by Russia decided to break up into a whole lot of pieces and started scattering across the area, and they didn't know where it was going. They have to then start tracking those pieces quickly, and they didn't know if they were going to have an issue with it hitting the space station. So that's what happened. Now here's the interesting part. They don't know why. That's yet to be determined. We may learn that later. I'm sure Space Force is all over this, and they might even have an idea, or they might even have some evidence as to what exactly happened. But this is the type of thing that we know Russia and China and America has been doing, has been trying to create. How do they take out other satellites? And was this a test? Did they actually use something? Did they use their claw? Did they use a ground-based weapon? Did they do some other new type of weapon as a test? Or did this thing just spontaneously decide to, break apart into a whole bunch of little pieces and start scattering itself into the rest of the junk? Which, by the way, it's getting kind of crowded up there, according to all these people saying that, there's a lot they're having to track to make sure they don't run into the debris, the large amounts of space debris. So that's what happened. That's the story. We're going to keep an eye on it, because I imagine there's going to be some more if this was if they find proof and they want to let us know about it, that this was something nefarious or a test of some sort.
Yeah, so I mean, this is straight out of the movie. If you've seen Gravity, it's where one satellite breaks up and then causes a domino effect. Each of those pieces flying at the speeds they say they are then hits other pieces. Then that ends up going and breaking apart and then hitting other stuff. There is a disaster scenario that they have talked about on many documentaries and History Channel, like if this happens kind of thing. And that this is one of them, right? I think it's crazy timing. With something like this, you hold your breath for a couple days and just hope that nothing happens. But my personal opinion is I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days something like this happened and it lined up with some big event. The whole world's watching the debate. All of a sudden this thing goes down and then it causes a massive domino effect, and then 4 a.m, everybody's lights go out kind of thing. Something happened. The satellites' communications are down. They hit us with an EMP. I think that if people are prepared for that, or at least mentally prepared for that, if it doesn't happen, great. But if it does happen, you'll be mentally prepared, and at least you won't be sitting there panicking, having a heart attack. People don't care about satellites. Every time we've covered the satellite stories or the big ones, people really don't care. Even if it's a really big emergency, people just don't care. And I think it's mostly because most people don't really even care about what's going on outside their house, let alone what's going on in space. But this could have huge sweeping effects if something like this happened and it actually did have a worst case scenario. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And let's see here. Let's go over to this poll. So this is actually, I mean, gosh, you look at Family Feud surveys and it's out of 100 people, right? And I think 100 people is a good kind of judge of people. By the way, my Twitter or X is not all from the show. In fact, a small percentage is from the show. Most people do not even know I have a show. I did a poll a while back, and most people didn't even know I had a channel. So X, or before X, Twitter, I really grew a lot of this just from doing Twitter. So this, I think, because if you watch the show, then you probably know my kind of soft views on things of, where I probably sit politically. But if you're online, I try to keep that kind of out of the picture. I do mention some things. So I think I've got a kind of a wide audience on X and Twitter, and some of them are watching right now. But out of 643 votes, you have JB at almost 70% and Donald at 30%. So that's actually, I'm a bit surprised that I actually had 30%. So that's a good mix of people. But yeah, it looks like since both presidents have both made the claim that the other was the worst president in history, who is your pick? If you want to go in and add a comment to this, you can go there right now, and I will touch on it, and I'll read some of the comments at the very end of the show. So just look for the second tweet down. I did put a tweet about their golf argument, but this is on there right now. You can go over and participate, and we'll read it on the show.
Is that your pick? Are you saying pick for the worst?
Yes, for worst president in history.
Okay.
Do you think people were confused? Maybe they.
Well,
thought...
my first reaction was to see who's your pick, and I was just, my immediate response was who I was thinking was better. But then when I read it again, I thought, well, maybe you meant what you said, which is who's the worst.
Yeah. So what if 30% of people thought that they were like, oh, I'm picking, yeah, who knows? Maybe I should have rephrased that, because now you never know if people are just picking them because they're like, oh, I'd. But I don't know. 70% with JB, I don't think so. Even his own party is kind of throwing him under the bus right now, which is, it says something is shady going on. It's super
there's
suspect.
Plenty of people that, and there's plenty of people that think, the former president didn't do a good job either, even on his side. So yeah, it's not unlikely to see a number of something there. Check comments though. That's probably.
I hear a lot of with T-Man is even my one uncle who's been always been a supporter of him. He said he got tired of the "woe is me" thing, especially when. But I don't know. The "woe is me" thing is kind of what's happening. And then Europe planning 1,500-mile defense line protecting Poland and the Baltics from Putin's World War III invasion threat. So again, they're adding even more. We've covered obviously all of the different fences, the trenches, the palisades, the barbed wired setups, the dragon's teeth for tanks. Now Europe is looking to build a giant 1,500-mile defensive line to protect itself from a chilling Vladimir Putin invasion. They had to add in a chilling, like, Poland and the Baltics are planning to create a $2.2 billion blockade to keep Russia from advancing through the continent as a threat of World War III looms. The brave allied nations, I understand, this is Western media, but you have to understand that they're writing with obvious bias, and obviously we don't have news that's not, but it's chilling Vladimir, Despo, Vladimir, this. And then as far as us goes, the brave allied nations revealed the plans on Wednesday as they asked the European Union for help with the project. Leaders from Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia all claim the protective blockade is essential to protect Europe from a dangerous Moscow. Putin has been ramping up his military threats among worrying activities that he has repeatedly tells the West to avoid getting involved in his conflict in Ukraine, which we have not, and we've basically helped every step of the way. The leaders of four countries who put together the plan described the need for extra attention as dire and urgent. They added 27 EU states with protected by the bloc, including over 450 million people. It will stretch around 1,471 miles that could potentially be shored up with minefields, anti-tank ditches, and bunkers. Belarus, who was regarded as one of Russia's proxies alongside Kaliningrad, have also cordoned off in the proposal. So they are actually building that wall and basically sealing out Belarus as well. And this was in a letter to the chairman of the EU, was seen by Reuters, who claim it said, extraordinary measures need to be employed as the EU's external border must be protected and defended with military and civilian means. It says, building a defense infrastructure system along the EU external border with Russia and Belarus will address the dire and urgent need to secure the EU from military and hybrid threats. So are they doing all of this because it's not going to happen? I don't think so. Dex, go ahead.
What happens to all these minefields? I mean, like if you live in Poland or in any of these other countries along this 1,500 miles and they fill them full of mines, like there's an aftermath to that. I mean, I get it. You want some sort of protection. If they truly believe there's an invasion coming, you should put that stuff out, or you should put some sort of defenses out. But man, those are pretty nasty. And we hear all these stories after the fact, like, after, what happened in these minefields or what happened in those fields, that long after the conflict is over or years later, nobody's paying attention to it and they've, collected all the money and moved on. Like, man, people that are going to be living there, that's got to be pretty rough to have minefields everywhere.
And think about how big that is. 1,500 miles. So they say, and in this, it actually shows Poland shares a 130-mile border with Russian territory. Kaliningrad and a 170-mile one with Belarus, right? So look at the map here. Look at where Poland is. Poland's right here. And this is Belarus. And this is Kaliningrad. So they're talking about 1,500 miles. Just this is 130. So think about how big 1,500 miles is. So this is 130 from this point to this point with Russia. And this is only 170 miles from here. So they're talking about building essentially a defense line all the way down the entire thing. That's a big project. That's a huge project. So, I don't know. I think it's exactly what I've been telling people was going to happen for years, but I guess we'll see. And then nuclear disaster warning issued by analysts over the Ukraine war. Dex.
Well, here we go again. The nuclear conversation is not going to be left out anymore. It's going to continue to happen. Now, this is coming from I think it was a think tank or something, but they're basically saying that, look, the longer the conflict goes on in UKR with Russia, the closer we are to getting into the point of a nuclear situation. And this is coming from two nuclear analysts. They're warning this in an opinion piece they put out. So they're saying that, the risks are high. Ivan Nikolek Hughes, the president of Nuclear Age Peace Foundation, a senior lecturer in chemistry from Columbia, and Peter Kuznick, a professor of history and director of nuclear studies at American University in DC. They put this piece together saying, basically warning the world that we're on the brink. We're on the brink of actually seeing a nuclear escalation because peace is not getting any closer, and the more time spent in the conflict in Europe against Russia, the closer we are to actually seeing that. And I think what they're doing is putting together a lot of the insight from past statements from Russia, the tactics that have been used, the recent tests that have been done, and the drills where they've moved the tacticals out and brought them back. When you put all that together and sort of think about, like, what are the actions that are happening? How much is this, on the safer end of rhetoric versus on the, much more dire end of, like, there's actually action happening that could at any moment be a real event. Like, when they roll a nuke out to the tarmac and they load it up and they say, well, we're going to, fly this thing and go launch it. And then they take it to that level and then stop. That's on the brink of actually being able to do it. And that's a lot closer than just having a talking political head saying, oh, well, we'll do something if we have to do it. So big ends of the spectrum here. We've shifted way away from the rhetoric, and we're much closer, especially with NATO saying, hey, bring more nukes in. Let's show the nukes we have. Let's make sure everybody knows what we have. Russia doing their tests and putting them, at the border of Belarus, putting them at another border in southern Russia, and then adding them to another third location up in Finland and showing off what they have. So yeah, I think the writing's on the wall that we are getting closer, and these experts are trying to warn the world about that.
Yeah, they're preparing the citizens in all of Europe. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, they're just trying to scare people, but I think that the scary thing is what happens when the war kicks off. When it gets kinetic, all of the rules and the things that they're going to change, all of the power struggles and the things that are going to switch out, that's the scary stuff. Not even the physical war. Everybody's afraid of the actual war because they think of a Red Dawn scenario, people paratrooping in. I don't even think they need to paratroop in. I think that they'll just walk out their doors and put a sign in their yard or something because they're already here. But again, I think everybody's afraid of that. I would be more afraid of what actions they take once it actually starts, not dying. Jerry Schertz, thank you so much. I appreciate your support yesterday. And then a couple comments, great comments here. Bible Talk 777 says, spiritual warfare has really broken through to the physical world. We won't make it to the Pick the Prez day. All hell breaks loose. Bible Talk 777, I'm actually with you. I think that something either on or before that's going to happen, if at the very latest January when they switch over. And then Scott Dixon, Jace Case hooked me up for my vacation coming up in Pinecrest. California, super legit. Needed some extended antibiotics before I leave, and they're more than happy to take care of me. Scott Dixon, totally, again, it's something that I'm glad that you ended up getting. And what's cool is you can add things. So on mine, I added albuterol, which it's like, those kind of things, being able to add things like that is really awesome. Well, Scott Dixon, thank you. And I'm assuming you went through us, so thank you as well for that. Jace is, again, we have it later, but it's one of our affiliates, and it has extended, You can either get antibiotics in a case that are just for whatever use, and then extended supplies of whatever your regular medication is, and it's all telehealth through an appointment you can do all on your computer. And then Jerry Shirts, I don't think it probably matters. They have an AI computer that's running the show right now, and that's just entertainment. Who would be surprised by that at this point? If tomorrow the news came out and says, we just found out that everything is actually simulated. Like, gosh, the first 10 seconds of that debate, I thought it looked weird. I thought T-Man looked like he was almost like CGI or something. It was weird. But I guess it was just because the background and the lighting. And then Brandon Lamb says, try not to give in to tinfoil, but while watching, I thought, oh, come on, we are being trolled. Hard not to put stock into Roseanne's claims of actors, mass, COG, etc. This was bad B-movie level. I agree. I mean, everything is bad B-movie level. I just saw somebody talking about how Kevin Spacey, who has been disgraced, they've got the documentary called Kevin Spacey Unmasked or whatever, and I watched the first episode of that. I didn't need to watch any more to pretty much say, yeah, this guy's probably a schizo. But he somehow got off on all of the charges, got totally vindicated in the court's eyes, but his career is gone. Nobody is ever going to hire that dude again, not in any good movie, right? Well, I guess he just did this film, and you see this film, and it's supposed to be film bad B-movie noir, but it's so weird seeing him, who is, besides his other stuff, he's a crazy actor. House of Cards was an insane show. Like, Kevin Spacey in House of Cards was playing himself. Like, that's why. He 1 in a million, he got a role that was him, right? But as far as he was this like crazy, crazy good actor in this bad B movie. And that's how I feel about the world right now. It's like we're all normal people and we're looking at this bad B movie going, how does not anybody else see that this is like super, super obvious? It's like, the person's going to run up the stairs instead of out the front door when Jason walks in with an axe, It's like everybody knows instead of running to the open car with the key in the ignition, they're going to run up the stairs and run to the top floor instead, like some dummy. That's what's been going on every day. Every day has been like opposite day. Do you guys agree? Let me know in the chat. Have you just been feeling like, how is this even possible? What is going on right now? See here, think we've got Garrett Fay. Charles May, Shannon took a little time away. Well, nice to have you back. Stephanie Colonius, yes. Dom D, old Jason X movies are a classic, LOL. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not even just Jason. It's like every, horror flick in the world. They always do the opposite of what they should do, and you're just sitting there, and they do it on purpose. I talked to directors when I went to the Seattle True Independent Film Festival. Directors are taught this. Those kind of movies, I forgot there was a word for it, but those kind of moments in a movie are meant to make you go, what are you doing? Because it actually gets you up out of your seat. Like, why are you not doing this? And it's a tactic that they use. I feel like that's what PR for all of our government is doing every single day. It's like you want to get up out of your seat and go, why? But yeah, Bizarro World, Dystopian Visions, you got it for sure. And then Rufus and Starin, thank you. Carlton Sutton, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the super thanks, or the super sticker. That's much appreciated. And then 2 new nations joined program to provide SATCOM support to NATO. It's like, so again, this is an actual release, and this is what's really important. So we're always watching the releases from Department of Defense, Department of Justice, DOE. We watch the Pentagon releases. We watch all of the White House releases. We watch the patents. This is where you end up catching stuff. But this one, wasn't this sent in by Foogle Fam originally, Dex? Or did you find this?
No, I think we found this when we were looking. I don't think this was the FugelFam one. I could be wrong.
Okay,
but
so
I'm pretty sure.
So tomorrow, I think there's something that we're gonna be giving credit to a FugelFam member. Oh, and that reminds me. Oh gosh, Dex, do you remember their name? I said that I would shout them out, but it ended up they sent us something that was 5 years old. It was a helicopter thing. I'll have to find their name. I said I would shout you out, and I will still shout you out, even though the article you sent was, I think, 5 years old, and we verified it. The article you sent was new, but the video they used and that they were basing it off of, we verified, and it was not a new video. Anyways, but Dex, do you want to explain what this is?
Yeah, so two new, not new countries to NATO, but two countries of NATO are signing up to provide additional satellite coverage and SAT communications for NATO as they're ramping up for the conflict, so to speak. So Spain and I believe it was Portugal is the other country. I have to double check here. No, Luxembourg, sorry. Luxembourg and Spain are the two countries that are joining US, France, Italy, and UK as the providers of military satellite comms for NATO. So as they, just imagine the 1,500-mile fence, imagine a 1,500-mile defense line, imagine the troops, 300, 400,000, maybe even more strong, moving across different parts of Europe. All the communications there, they need satellite communications. They need to have access to bandwidth, so to speak, or technology for the NATO troops that are on, and they look to the partners of NATO to provide that. Of course, the US, being the biggest, will provide quite a bit, France as well, UK as well, but Italy was already there, and now they've added Luxembourg and Spain.
And this comment, it says there are varying levels of protection, said Brian Hughes, and this is the actual DoD release, right? It says it's all military satellite communications, which means that it is resistance to nuclear effects, and it has resistance to jamming capabilities that commercial services generally do not have. So is there a reason that they're doing this? Are they adding this in because of something they know that we don't? It's not being, and by the way, you'll see this in the next couple days in the main news, MSM and things like that. You'll see this afterwards. When you watch our show, if you're not subscribed already, make sure to hit the notification bell. We know only about 30% of you have that notification bell checked. So check that, press all. That way you're also telling YouTube, hey, I want to watch this, so don't decide for me. But you're also making sure that you get all of those notifications. So make sure to do that. It's very easy to do. Just hit the subscribe button, and then, of course, hit all notifications. You'll get stuff like this way before. I bet you 2 days from now, you'll probably see something. My guess first to cover it will be Tyler Durden and Zero Hedge. We'll talk about it, but we'll see. And then Taiwan warns against travel to China after execution threat. So this is, obvious, right? Taiwan's government raised its travel warning for China on Thursday, telling its citizens not to go unless absolutely necessary, which, again, a lot of the folks in Taiwan have direct family in China. They have business attachments. They have all sorts of other things that they go to mainland for. They're about 120 miles off of the coast, so a lot of folks go in and out all the time. But now they're saying, yeah, unless it's absolutely necessary, don't travel there, because they are talking about essentially a death sentence for supporting Taiwan independence. So maybe you don't go over there and start yelling, yeah, Taiwan needs to be free. But what if it's on a social media post from 3 years ago? All of a sudden you're getting arrested because you jaywalked, and they need to give you your ticket to lower your social credit score. Don't know. But that jaywalk turns into a death sentence real quick if that's what they're actually doing. Now, this whole death sentence over supporting Taiwan, I don't know how it's going to go through, or if it does go through, or if they're ever going to actually do it. But it is a freaky thing to think. And this is why I said I would rather not have Xi as the number one person and the number one country in the world because they say stuff like this. They do stuff like this. There is no, you don't have true rights in China. Heck, even their protests, they held up blank pieces of paper so just in case they wouldn't get in trouble. I mean, like, yeah, not fun. But yeah, they're saying don't travel. Is there anything down below that? I don't know. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Energy. Again, this is one of the best solar generators on the market. It is my absolute recommendation. I think that there is no expandable and modular generator like this. You can expand it up to 96 batteries. It is tough as nails. This is literally the generator that just won the STTR Phase 2 contract and is going to be shipping out with the U.S. Army. This is tough. It's got a steel reinforced frame. It's got 1,500-pound latch systems. Super fast, super easy to disconnect, connect, add batteries, add mods. Just like Legos, it goes in a brick system, and you can add a brick that, say, adds a uninterrupted power supply / rapid charger. In fact, that's a 2-for-1. A really cool attachment, if you already have it, is that UPS rapid charger. That rapid charger allows you to plug it into the wall and charge a battery in about 40 minutes. So it is a really cool system. Also, of course, it's a solar generator, so you can hook it up to solar panels. If you don't know anything about this, solar panels are like Christmas lights. It's super easy. You get one of their folding solar panels, you put it out in your lawn, you prop it up, almost like you prop your phone to watch a movie, and then you plug it in. One cord in, and then press power. That's all you have to do. If you want more solar panels, you daisy chain them. You plug one into the one, and then one into the other, and then that into the generator. So super, super easy, super efficient. The reason the Army picked this thing is because its reliability and its toughness. It's got heaters built into each battery. If you want the best and you want bragging rights to your prepper friends, then this is definitely the one you got to go for. Now, they also make the Flex 1500, which is, I would say, it's not even a step down. It's a step sideways. It just doesn't have the heaters in the batteries. And it has a different latch system, and it's a little bit different, but it's all of the same functionality as far as a solar generator goes. So whichever is your flavor, I would recommend this because it's future-proof. And of course, they're going to have all sorts of adapters. So even if you have this and old batteries or old batteries in this, you can mix and match very soon here. Marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Not only will you save, but you'll help our independent channel at the same time. And again, you'll have a generator that's silent, can be run inside, and nobody's going to hear from 3 blocks away. All right, and then U.S., Japan, and Korea begin Freedom Edge exercise. So a massive exercise is starting right now, and North Korea attempts a ballistic missile test. So, Dex, we've got a massive drill that just is now in its inception.
Yeah, exactly. And, we covered the launch. I guess what they called it, a failed launch of the North Korean missile. But the main thing was it was hypersonic, and it was it solid fuel, Adam? Do you remember? I think it was solid. That made it
yes, compared to liquid.
Yeah, so it makes it less detectable, which would make it stealthy, or at least, being that it's hypersonic, it could get somewhere a lot faster than by the time we've detected it. So that happens, but at the same time, we have U.S., Japan, South Korea all kicking off the trilateral Freedom Edge exercise. So that started this week as well. So we're going to see this back and forth. But the thing that's different, that's a lot different, is we've seen the buildup on the DMZ. I think that's what's really eye-opening. And when you think about, we just talked about a potential 1,500-mile buildup across a European line. We've got Kim building up the DMZ right now. And the DMZ, if you're not familiar, it's the divisional line between the north and south of Korea there. It's an area in which they said was sort of should be a no military zone. That's the acronym. And they have been going in and clearing trees. They've been building walls. They've been fortifying defenses. They've been losing people because they're stepping on, mines. which is unfortunate for those people. But that's the people on the north side that's happened to. It hasn't happened even in the south, and they've even crossed the lines and had warnings from the south side over their head to make them go back. So the fact that we're seeing that buildup along this line, the fact that they're preparing, fortifying, and getting into either a defensive or potentially even an offensive position while they're launching these hypersonics, while they've been visited by Putin and potentially given more technology, which every time he visits or they get together, something new comes out for North Korea. And we know that North Korea said, hey, anytime the U.S. has one of these drills, anytime, South Korea works with one of the allies and does one of these drills, that is a sign of aggression. That is I can't remember the term he used, but it's the term that's in the agreement. Adam, do you know what I'm talking about? The agreement that Putin just signed with North Korea said they would defend them against any aggression, I think was the term they used.
Yeah, the treaty.
The treaty, yeah. So North Korea always calls these exercises aggression. So now, what's going to happen? Are we going to see Russia join in with North Korea in the tit for tat on these exercises now? Or is it going to be further to the point where they say, hey, we're going to, get front and center and maybe stop you from doing this because we have to now support North Korea against any aggressive actions. And North Korea labels this aggressive.
Well, yeah. Could we see Russian soldiers like pinning up against the DMZ or something? I think this is all going to go down at the same time. I think it's clear that all of the countries are going to happen all like that. And I'm actually surprised maybe the Middle East is going to trigger all of the rest first. I think North Korea is going to be the first big event that starts this whole chain off. But I don't know. Now they're loading up on. I think I may be wrong, that the Middle East may end up popping off in a big, large-scale war, and then North Korea, then Venezuela, Guyana. They split our military, then China takes Taiwan. They're all these treaties. Who else did they need? Dex, who else would they need a treaty with? You've got Putin and Venezuela already did a treaty. You've got Putin and North Korea did a treaty. You've got Putin and he met Xi. They have a no limits partnership. What about Putin and Iran? Did we look that up the other night?
We announced it. That he announced he's doing a deal with Iran, and we looked up the Venezuela one because Venezuela was
That's
November,
right.
But Iran is the new one.
They are backing each other up. Now they have this axis of evil or whatever they're going to call it now. This is the frame. This is the framework. It's being built right in front of us. And people are still denying that war is coming. I would say if you have a lot of people around you telling you you're fear-mongering or that you're overreacting or something like that, don't listen to them. I felt for so many years, I've just felt I never wanted to be. I was offended by that. Like, I don't like being called a fearmonger. I don't want to be called that I'm trying to scare people. I'm not trying to. I think fear-mongering is when you're trying to scare people for a purpose. Like, you're trying to scare them just to scare them. I'm not trying to scare people to scare people. I truly believe that I'm helping people get prepared. I think that when people get prepared, it's a good thing no matter how it happens. And I have heard so many good things after CV, when CV hit, because I warned everybody. I said, this is going to be a big thing. I knew it. It's a gut feeling. A lot of you guys knew it too. But 5 months before, 6 months before, I was telling people, you can go back to my thumbnails and my shows. I was saying something big is about to happen. They're planning this big demic, right? I said, look at the tabletop exercises. Look at the drills. I physically was down at the market interviewing these people, and they did a drill, one of the weirdest drills ever, where they were all wearing masks and essentially counting people. They had SWAT teams and all this stuff, and they said, "Oh, it's just an exercise." I knew it. Absolutely knew that they were about to do something big. I told people afterwards, Dex, you were with me. We got so many emails thanking us because they had prep, they had food, they had water. They didn't have to sit in the 6-hour Costco line to get water. It was such a good feeling. And I don't predict things. I don't say, oh, on this day something crazy is going to go down, because I never want to harm that. Like, if I tell you guys something, it's because I truly believe it, and I'm basing that not just on my whim of a thought. It's after talking to multiple military folks that are in the Fugel family. It is after talking to people, my peers. It is after I don't just watch somebody else's YouTube video and go, oh, I did my research and this is what I think. I do it based on what I hear also from your community. This is all stuff that is coming from active duty military. They're saying that this is about to go down. I believe them. And I wouldn't sway you wrong. I wouldn't point you in a direction that I didn't think was going to happen. Like, I find that this is more important than any regional thing that's happening here. I think that this is a global thing. No matter where you are in the world, this is going to affect you. And I think people really need to stop being so scared to tell people what they think. And I was just always so afraid to say, hey, war's coming. But I say, oh, maybe it might. It's coming. I know it. I know it in my heart. Do you guys feel the same way sometimes? Let me know. And then China quietly uses cartel drug trade to upend American harmony at home. Well, no duh. Obviously. Dex, do you want to go over this?
Yeah, so apparently China is cleaning the drug money, so to speak, for the Mexican cartels. And that is one of the things they're doing, in addition to obviously bringing the stuff across into America that's being created in China. And, it's funny, that was one of the topics in tonight's event that was going on between the former and the current prez. And I really wish either one of them would have said, point the finger at China on this. And nobody took that opportunity, because they really could have. And maybe there's a reason why they didn't. I don't know. But we know, and when you think about the amount of loss of lives we've had from this particular, type of material that's being created in China and then brought over and then run up into America with the cartels, if we had that many people perish in a year in a conflict, everybody would be up in arms. They would be, out of their mind. Like, what's going on? We can't lose that many Americans, but we are. And it's crazy to think that there's a country over there sitting there, doing it. They're saying, yeah, it's not a problem. We'll make it look like we're trying to make it stop, but we're going to fund these companies that make these, components that make the fence, so to speak, and make money off of it and take out American citizens at a great, alarming rate. So,
why,
anyway,
right?
Here's the connection. This is the connection, and it's obvious, like it's a no doubt. But go ahead, Adam.
Well, you know why, right? I'm trying to pull up a video here. It's like, heck, let's just, let's go to DuckDuck. I'll show you exactly why this isn't a bigger thing here. Because these are the people, right? These are the people that it's affecting. Those 100,000. To many, they go, oh, that's not us. That's these people, right? Well, these people are your brothers. These people are your sisters. These people are your daughters and your sons. The people that are getting caught up in this, especially the young people, the people that are doing this on the streets, Seattle's the worst. I can talk on this. I can speak on this because my city is hit so much worse than so many other places out there. And I shouldn't even talk because I don't know. I hear that out in the country, it is super bad. My wife and I were opening our trunk at a Costco. Little, like, looked 10 years old. Came up, says, "Oh, do you know where to get blues?" I didn't know what that was at the time. There's little kids that are trying to get this stuff. and they all turn into these zombies. Almost all of them are homeless because you can't function. Are you supposed to keep a job when you're like this? Absolutely not. This hunched over thing that everybody does. You know, back in the day, like who was that? Ray Charles that would play the piano and almost fall off. They said he would never fall off, but he would get way, way down there. People see those clips and they think it was because he was just jamming out, but he was strung out on black and all sorts of other stuff. But it's like this hunch thing. This is so disturbing. This is somebody's son. This is somebody right there. This is somebody that had a potential. This is somebody who could have been a senator, could have been an astronaut. I know all of you are like, yeah, right.
at this rate, Adam, I think it'd be hard pressed to say there's somebody you don't know in your extended network of friends or family that it doesn't have somebody affected by this or even perished by this. I mean, even talking to my own kids, they've got friends that were lost and lost completely because of this. Not just out on the streets, but they were gone. They're no longer here, and it's a scary thing that it's that prevalent that just about everybody has some sort of connection to it. I mean, the number right now, it says it's the article says it's stabilized at 100,000 per year in the summer of 2021. That's supposed to be an okay thing, stabilization. I mean, that's a lot of people perishing, and it's probably more than that. That's just what they reported for 2021. But look, if it's that big, and I think we've said this before, if another country came along and could wave a magic wand and take out 100,000, U.S. citizens in one blow, wouldn't we be just, out of our mind? Like, what's going on? Why would we allow that? But here it is. This country, China, and the cartels down below working together, and the result is these staggering numbers here in America.
That was the part I didn't like. I'll critique T-Man. When they asked the question about that, and this is the crappy part, within the first 5 minutes, I thought, oh, this is not going to go well. They asked a question to JB. JB said something, basically said, oh, it's all T-Man's fault. And then T-Man said, oh, can I respond to that? Jake Tapper immediately says, well, you have 1 minute for your current question. You could use some of that. And I'm like, okay, so he doesn't get to if he does respond, that means it takes up the time for his next question. But he gave him permission to do that, so the whole debate, it was him answering the last comment. He didn't ever get to respond to what JB said because both of them were throwing shots at each other. So but then right away, within 5 minutes, he says something about JB. Jake Tapper goes, sure, do you want a minute to respond to that? I'll give you a minute to respond to that. I was like, that's BS. So he has to use his next question's thing. So later on in this thing, they ask him, they say, what are your plans? What do you think about the Fenny emergency that's happening? He spent 50 seconds out of 60 seconds answering about that. And I actually did want that question answered. What is T-Man going to do about that? But what is anybody going to do? He did point out that it's all about Xi, right? It's Xi. It's the stuff that's going in through the South. So I don't know. I think it might fix in some way as well. Leah, good night. That's too bad you can't say. There's actually, I don't know if you can say for one more story, but there's a good one coming right now. But yeah, that was one part that I was like, oh, okay. I wish you would have answered that. But what is the solution? And then world dangerously headed for food wars. Top commodity trader warns. So I talked about this a couple years ago after I talked to somebody who was an expert on, I forget what their title was, but it was somebody we had on our show back, actually it was 2021, so almost, or 2020. Maybe it was before Dex, 2019. So it was about 5 years ago. But they talked about this, and they were saying that there was going to be some heavy, hardcore food wars here soon, and most of the stuff is something that could have been prevented. Sonny Verghese, CEO of Olam Agri, a Singapore-based agriculture trading firm, spoke at Redburn Atlantic at Rothschild Consumer Conference. Yeah, you know that one's going to be having all the people there. Warned an audience that the world is heading towards a period of food wars as geopolitical wildfires spread across the globe. It says, we have fought many wars over oil. We will fight bigger wars over food and water. Think about what is happening with Ukraine. Do I need to show you Ukraine? Ukraine is all farm. All of it. It doesn't matter where you zoom in to Ukraine. I randomly zoomed in. Look at this. Anywhere. You can pick a point. Let's just throw a dart at it, right? It's all farm. This is food. Besides that, there's minerals, there's money. I think this is what the real fight is over. I think it's either about the food, the soil, or the minerals. And it's money, right? It's money and power. Because what is Mr. Gates buying? Farmland. What is he designing? Designer foods. What is his other thing that he spends a lot of money on? You know what I mean? And I believe they've been working on ways to get the into something that you could eat. Just like they've been doing stuff with animals and farm animals and things like that. So I do believe that we are headed for food wars. And maybe that's actually kind of what we're sitting in now because of information that we probably don't have. He pointed out that the surge in non-tariff trade barriers in 2022 in response to the war in UKR, 1,266 from 154 countries by his count, had sparked, quote, an exaggerated demand-supply imbalance. Translation, exaggerated demand-supply imbalance. Basically, almost all of this that's going on right now is artificial or it's man-made. Food prices have soared in recent years, whether due to adverse weather conditions sparked by El Nino or the conflict in Ukraine. These prices are likely to remain elevated for years to come, which nobody wants to hear. My wife and I were just talking about this. The only thing that's changed, we were doing okay. Now it's like scraping by every month because of food. Now, I'm sure most of you are doing the exact same thing. You're looking for cheaper stores, you're coupon cutting, you're doing all sorts of things just to try to get by. India, China, and everybody has got buffer stocks, he said, adding that this is only exacerbating the global problem. Well, think about China. Dex, what has China started hoarding?
Corn and wheat.
And other foods. Rice, soy,
gold,
and gold and everything else. But they're hoarding. They said 55% of the world's wheat. Actually, it might have been higher. 45% of the world's corn. Why? They have 20% of the world's population. Why do they need all of that? Why did they stop selling a lot of their natural gas? They're hoarding that too. They're hoarding everything. Everybody says, oh, well, they're getting ready for sanctions. But what if there's something bigger on the horizon? That's my question. And honestly, I would not be surprised. It's getting absolutely crazy. Dex, food wars, and then they say that Africa is going to be the breadbasket of the future. I wonder why that is. What is in our future, right? What do you think?
Well, I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of bugs in our future. Unfortunately, but when they bring about something like this, it means shortages, and when we have shortages, people are going to be hungry, and when you're hungry, you'll do lots of things like bow down to powers, give up freedoms, start eating the block of bug mess that's in the train. What was that? The ice snow piercer. Yeah, it's not going to be a pretty day.
I was already ahead of you. Yeah, the cockroach blocks from Snowpiercer. That's what they're passing off as food. One good thing about some of these shorts and TikTok videos is there's some actually really cool creators that are putting together a lot of really good information. I found out something about I can't say it. Carrageenan. Have you guys heard of this? Carrageenan. Have you heard of that, Dex? Carrageenan. It
Yes.
can hide in food as a dietary fiber. Have you guys heard of this? It's in a lot of like prepared foods and frozen pizzas.
Some milks too, like almond milks or something like that. Have carrageenan, however you say it.
Carrageenan. It's in chocolate milk. It's in butter. It's in sour cream. It's to give you that taste. Like when you drink a glass of chocolate milk and it leaves that like film on your tongue and that taste that gives it that smooth texture. That is carrageenan or whatever you call it. But it causes inflammation, and I'm not, or they say it causes inflammation, I should say. But it causes all sorts of things, and it causes problems with your immune system. It can trick your body into thinking that you have autoimmune issues, is what's being said. And I'm thinking, gosh, like things like that, those little factoids, there's so much stuff like this. All of the food out there, and if you're also on a budget, what really is crappy, and it's not even this way anymore, all of the cheaper food is prepared foods. Not to mention the whole, the food pyramid. That thing was a whole freaking scam. It's like we're the most obese country, but that's also because of money-hungry corporations. Almost all of it's due to money-hungry corporations. Go look up the food pyramid scam. You'll see what I mean. It's just like, this is all money. When it really comes down to it, it's all money and power. And I think more importantly, it's about the power. When you control food and water, you're going to control the world. And your family is going to control the world, and their great-grandkids are going to control the world. That's why you see all of the very old rich elites, they're all passing power down to their kids. They're all now starting to step into the spotlight. Because they don't care about money. Money comes and goes, but power and respect, that's something that stays and lasts forever. Latest monolith found in Colorado. Maybe aliens trying to enhance their communications. I don't know. I don't know. I think the people that are putting these things in, it's kind of, I don't know. It would seem like a waste of time, since even if it was real, nobody was going to believe it's real after we found out that the main one that freaked everybody out was fake. So now nobody's ever going to believe this. Real aliens could come down and put a monolith down, and people are like, whatever, it's probably a YouTuber that made it. But Dex,
That's another one. Look, this one's different. There's a cool picture in here.
Yeah, I'll show you.
It's not the triangle that we've normally seen. It's bolted to the ground. Apparently, this one showed up in Colorado on a mountain or on a large hill just outside of the small town there, and the Bellevue, Colorado. The land is actually owned by the people that own the Howling Cow Cafe and the Morning Fresh Dairy Farm, and they were shocked when people came in saying, "Hey, what's that? Where's the alien monument? We want to go see it." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And apparently it's on their land. So it made news, and maybe it's a publicity stunt, but they don't seem to be taking credit for it by any means. But here's the shocking thing. Did you know, and it's in the second paragraph here, it says nearly 250 mysterious monoliths, many of them three-sided and prism-shaped, have been discovered around the world since 2020. So in just the last 3.5 years, or 4.5 years, 250 of these? I mean, I knew there was a lot. Like we probably covered 10 or 12, I think, over the years, it seems like. But I didn't realize there's been 250 of them.
Well, this one is so clearly man-made. Like, they didn't even take the time to put it in the ground. It has 4 legs. Like, this does not scream alien, right? So what is the actual point? And it makes you ask the question, like, is there some other reason why they're doing this? Is this to hide something like an antenna? Are they doing it like, oh, it's just a joke monolith, and nobody ends up touching it? But in reality, is there something in it? How, 250? Are these all individuals that are doing it for fun to see their neighbors posted on Neighbors or something, or on Nextdoor? It's like, and they're all out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know. I have seen comments underneath some of them that says maybe that's real aliens. I don't know. I doubt it on those. If there was a monolith by aliens, if there was something like 500 feet tall that all of a sudden popped out of nowhere, I would think that was cool. But before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. This is, in fact, that's exactly what Scott Dixon was talking about earlier. Jace is a very simple service. It is a telehealth appointment. You talk to a board-certified doctor, and you can quickly get yourself either a Jace case, which is life-saving meds and antibiotics all in a really handy kit. You basically have essentially a fanny pack full of the most important stuff that you would need. And then, of course, they also do something called Jace Daily, which if you are a caregiver for somebody who has daily medications, this is something to think about. If they are constantly having to get 1 month supplies of things, say tomorrow there are no pharmacies. Say tomorrow we don't have hospitals or ER rooms we could go to. Then something like this is a really good thing. And it's a service, so you'll always have 12 months, and you can rotate it into your regular prescription. So you'll always have a year sitting there ready of fresh meds that you can use. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/Jace. Every one of our affiliates I have handpicked to make sure that if it's something that's either going to save you, help you live more comfortably, get you through a disaster, or prevent you from having to deal with something in the future if something goes down. This is good for any disaster. So again, marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. And again, that helps us out, and it gets you a discount as well. Very, very easy. Just go there to learn more. And I'm glad, Scott, you were treated well. Okay. And Israel readies troops for a potential escalation in Lebanon. Dex, you didn't get to say much on the last one, so I'll let you put in your opinion on this, and then, of course, we'll tell people where to go.
Yeah, like this is really important for folks to understand what's happening over in the Middle East. It is one of the hot spots. It is one of the key components to the what is going to be called World War III. It is obvious at this stage that things are on the brink. If they may already be considered kicked off. When we look back a month from now, even weeks from now, they may look at this date as the kickoff to it. I thought maybe when the original attack from Iran happened that would do it, but I guess the U.S. talked them down a little bit from the retaliation. But look, the setup right now is so obvious. You've got Erdogan from Turkey with the largest military in the Middle East saying he's going to back Lebanon. You've got obviously Iran that's funding it, as well as saying they're going to back it. You've got soldiers coming from all sides. You've got the groups that are backed by Iran in Iraq saying, yes, we're going to go after U.S. targets if this kicks off. And we all already have kinetic activity. We've talked about the little skirmishes and the little fires or a few drones here and there that have been happening for months now. But just as of today, there's massive amounts of shelling or aerial activity that's going on that it looks like we're on the brink, and so pay attention. It's a big deal. Take that other video. It's much easier to share. It's got all the information, all the links, everything you need to know. Share that with your friends and family. If they're not awake yet on what's happening and why they should be thinking about getting prepared, this should be one of those reasons. This is an obvious point that we're about to be getting into a very different stage in the world, and it's going to have lots of effects on everyone, from finances to food to conscription or drafts to everything. So
the fire was just lit. I mean, this is exactly what everyone predicted, and it's happening. And I don't think we're set up for this massive world war coming, but Hopefully we get there. Bunny Ha, thank you. Says, has anyone seen the documentary that just came out called The Grab? It's on Amazon. It's about food and water grab. No, I haven't, but I will take your recommendation and I will watch it. Sounds very interesting. Carlton Sutton, Brandon Lamb, thank you so much. Scott Dixon, Bible Talk 777, and Jerry Schertz, thank you so much. Danish Girl Nevitz, hopefully you're doing well. Brandon Lamb, you are a top supporter tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And I will make sure to get that name who sent me that email. I want to say it's Intricato, but I will properly do it for the next show. Thank you so much to everybody that made it to our show. Thanks everybody in the Fugel family. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you, Scratch. Thank you, Shannon Crow, Angel Wings, Faith Parent, and everybody else. Predictive programming, exactly. Four Horses, Blue Beam isn't next. T-Man Falls is next. Ooh, I know, it's scary. Everybody's talking about it too. Well, if you want to watch that video, just click here. Join us for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. If you're in the chat and you want to stay for the jams, we're going to give a tribute to top supporter Brandon Lamb and Scott Dixon tonight. Thank you so much. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you. Thank you to Kimbria, Captain Morgan, Laura Griffith. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Michigan traffic, the end is near, and TWK. Jenny Bowling, Jenny Bowling, Jenny Bowling, Jenny.